This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. Welcome to Easy Entertaining.
Well, if you've never tried summer rolls, you are in for a treat. I just love these. They have these great flavors. It's so fresh. And when I serve them at parties, people go crazy for them. So let me show you how I do it. Now, I like to get all my ingredients together. So the first thing I like to do is I like to get my asparagus and I kind of measure them. I don't want them to be bigger than the rice paper wrapper. These end up being about 5.5 inches long. So I make a mark with my fingernail. And then I just take my knife and I cut them all that length. That way I don't have to worry about, oh, this one's too short, this one's too long. And then I take my cleaned asparagus and I put them in a little saute pan with just about 1/2 inch of water, not more than that. And I pop them in there and I cover them and I let those sort of cook there on a medium heat for about 2 minutes or so. I just want to sort of parboil them. I like them to still be bendy but not mushy. Now I need to stop the cooking on these real quick, so I take the pan over to the sink and I put all the asparagus in a colander and I immediately start running cold water on them. And the way I can tell that the asparagus are starting to cook is if I can pick them up and handle them like this. Get them nice and cooled down. And then I just wrap them up in a paper towel and set them aside. Now the next thing we need is some angel hair pasta, and that's the really, really thin spaghetti. It could also be called vermicelli, but you see it's really thin strands of spaghetti. And what we want to do is we want to take, about 1/2 pound of those, and we want to break them up. They're too big, too long this way. So what I do is I take them and I break them into thirds. So I just kind of bend them and they break, and I have a little bowl right there. And this third size really ends up being perfect inside the summer roll. Now once I've got the pasta broken up, I just take and put it into a saucepan that's got some boiling water. And because these are the thin spaghetti or vermicelli or angel hair, they only take just a couple of minutes to cook. It's amazing. It's not like regular spaghetti, but do look and see how long your particular pasta says for you to cook it. But notice I'm putting them in by handfuls. I want the pasta to be broken up in that they're not sticking together. That's really important. So just get all of that in the pan and cook it for the amount of time that it says on the package. So once the time is up, I take it, and again, I need to cool these noodles off real quick like. So I take them over to the sink, put them in the colander, and I'm gonna go ahead and start running cold water on them right away. I need them to stop and get cooled real quick. So I first start by using my tongs because it's way too hot for me to touch with my hands, but not too soon after, it does start to cool off enough where I can use my hands, and that's when I know that the pasta has really stopped cooking. So once it's cool enough to touch like this, you've really got to shake all that water off. And one of the things I like to do is then get a little olive oil and just put maybe a tablespoon or so of olive oil right in the colander. The spaghetti will really clump up if you don't. And I just use my tongs and kind of mix it up just like that. And then we're just going to set this to the side. Now our next ingredient to get ready is some dried shiitake mushrooms. And these you can just find in the produce section of the grocery store. They come in a little box and there's usually about 12 of them. And what I do is I put them in a little bowl with some boiling water and let them sit just for 30 minutes, and that kind of rehydrates them. Then it's time to get them sliced. Now the stem of these mushrooms is really rubbery because it's been dried and we don't want that. So I cut that off, set it to the side, and then I'm just going to cut these mushrooms into strips. Not super thin, but I don't know, 1/4 inch or so. These mushrooms have this real meaty flavor, and they give an incredible amount of flavor to these summer rolls. So they're really worth trying to find in your grocery store. Now we're going to start working on our dipping sauces, and the first one is a peanut dipping sauce. Now you can use any kind of peanut butter that you have around the house. I'm using creamy today because that's what I have, and I need 1/4 cup of peanut butter, and I need to put that into a little saucepan. And then to that I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of water and 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Add that into your pan with your peanut butter and water, and then we're going to go ahead and put in the juice of 1 lime. Then we add 2 cloves of minced garlic to the pan, and then 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, and this is usually found in the Asian food section of your store. So once we get all the ingredients in the saucepan, we take it over to the stove, and with my little whisk, I've just got it on a medium heat, and what I'm trying to do is get that peanut butter to start melting. Now at the beginning, it doesn't really look very good, but as you stir and as you go, it starts to really melt and make this beautiful sauce. So once it starts to bubble, this sauce is done, and you can just take and leave it in the little pan and set it off to the side to cool down. Now the second dipping sauce is the soy dipping sauce, and for that we take 1/3 cup of brown sugar and put that into a little saucepan, along with 1/3 cup of soy sauce and 1/2 cup of water. Then I squirt in about a tablespoon of ketchup and a very common ingredient in Asian sauces, which is dry sherry. So I put 1/4 cup of that in, and then for a little bit of heat, I put in 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. Then I put in 1 clove of garlic that I've minced. And then I take a green onion, just one, and I slice that up, green and white part as well. Now the thing that's great about putting this green onion into this dipping sauce is it gives a totally different texture than our peanut butter sauce, so people really know which is the difference between the two. So just put your green onion right into the saucepan with everything else, and then we're going to go and put it on the stove as well. And I usually cook this on a medium to medium high heat until it starts to get kind of bubbly. Then once it starts to bubble, I make a slurry of about 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and about 2 tablespoons of cold water. And then you mix that together, and once the two are nicely combined, then you take it and you dump it right into your saucepan. Now make sure your sauce is boiling when you put this in, because the cornstarch doesn't work as a thickener unless the mixture you're putting in is boiling. And you can see how quickly this starts to get thick. That's what we're going for. And then you just whisk it around just for, I don't know, a minute or two. And then you can just turn the heat off and again slide this off onto the side and let it cool. Now it's time to start assembling our summer rolls. So the first thing you need to do is, in the Asian food section of your store, get a package of these rice paper wrappers. They're really unusual looking, but this is what they look like. And then you need to get a large dish that you put some warm water in. You can't use the rice paper wrappers the way they are. You have to soften them. So you take the wrapper, put it in water, and it'll immediately start to, curl up on itself. So once you get one side wet, flip it on over and get it wet. And you'll start to see it's going to become translucent. And it only takes about a minute or so to do this. But you really can't start to roll it until it gets translucent. So let me show you all of our ingredients. We've got some medium-sized cooked shrimps. We've got our little angel hair vermicelli pasta. We've got our asparagus spears. We've got some leaves of spinach. We've got some cilantro leaves. That's a really important part of this. Some fresh bean sprouts. Some grated carrot that I just bought a package of. And then our sliced shiitake mushrooms. So let's get rolling. I'm taking my sheet out of the water, and I like to roll on a piece of parchment. I find that works out pretty well. And then once I get one of the wrappers out of the water, I immediately put another one in to get it start softening. And then the first thing I do is I take, just a few leaves of cilantro, and I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, something like that. And then I put in 3 or 4 of my shrimps. And the reason I'm putting these first is because these are the things you're absolutely going to see through the wrapper, and you'll see that in just a sec. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 or 2 spears of asparagus on, and then I'm going to go ahead and get some of my noodles. Then I'm going to put a couple of spinach leaves, a little pinch of my bean sprouts, a little pinch of my grated carrot, and then 3 or 4 slices of my shiitake mushrooms. Now what you do is you fold up the ends first. So we go ahead and we pick up the ends and kind of fold them over on top of our filling, just like this. And then we take the end closest to us and we flip it over the top of the filling, and you can kind of tuck it in with your hands, and then you just roll it up just like this. And this wrapper seems like it wouldn't be very secure at all, but these things are really tough. It's amazing. And then I just take my roll, tuck in the ends if anything has sort of, is poking out, and I put it on a dish just like this. And then I have a piece of wet paper towel that I put on the top. And then you just keep rolling. And you can see now how important it is to have all of your ingredients set up. You wouldn't want to be trying to get the shiitake sliced and the asparagus parboiled when you're trying to roll these things. And once you have everything set up, it actually goes pretty quickly. Now you can make as many as you want, and when I was making these days, I think I made, I don't know, a dozen of them, and I actually ended up having a few ingredients left over. Well, what to do with them? Well, what I did is I took everything and put it in the bowl with the pasta like this, and any of the extra dipping sauce I had left over, and I made a wonderful cold Asian noodle salad with it. When it's time to serve, you don't want your sauces really hot, obviously. You want them to be room temperature. But sometimes the peanut butter one can get a little thick. So what I do is I just put on a low heat for just a couple of minutes just to kind of thin it out a little. Again, we don't want it to get hot because that would not work with the coolness of the summer roll itself. So just till it kind of thins out, like I said, just a minute or so, and then pull it off the heat. Now when you're ready to serve, I just get 2 little bowls and I put the dipping sauces in. So this was the soy dipping sauce, and then this one is the peanut sauce. Now you can see the color differentiation is really obvious between the two. That's nice. But I do like that little bit of texture in the soy dipping sauce with the sliced onions. So for the peanut sauce, I just take a little sprinkle of some chopped peanuts, and that kind of looks nice. So here you have it, summer rolls. The flavors of these rolls are so great, and these 2 dipping sauces are a nice complement. The peanut sauce is very mild and nutty, whereas the soy sauce has that little bit of punch with the chili pepper flakes. I hope you'll give them a try.
For more information on this episode, go to our website and visit the Easy Entertaining show notes. Also, if you have any questions or ideas for us, send us an email. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.